Ooh. All right, all right, all right. Welcome back, everyone. I think we're on episode 17 this week. I think we're on episode 17 this week. And it's been a couple of weeks since we've been here because it's been the holidays here. So if you're listening to this, um, this is now being recorded on December 29th. And so I don't think I've produced a show in the last 2 weeks because it's been a crazy, crazy holiday. So for all of you that are listening to this, and it is around the holiday season, I hope that your holiday has been really wonderful, beautiful, and that you have an incredibly blessed new year. Um, I know the holiday's been great for me. So what are we going to talk about today? I sat here this morning. I actually laid in bed this morning before I even got out, thinking about, what it is that I wanted to discuss or share and, talking to my guides and seeing if anything really stuck out. And the unfortunate thing is I've been a little bit under the weather. And so I didn't get a lot of clarity. And it took, keeping that conversation going in my head. And, after doing a little bit of work this morning, I finally had the question pop up in my head, or I had the scene pop up in my head a couple of weeks ago where my niece had asked me, how would I answer someone if they asked me what religion I was? So I figured we were going to talk about that today. I thought that was a really good one. We've got a number of episodes behind us talking about witchcraft, witches, all that kind of good stuff. You know, so here's a little bit, it's on topic, but it's a little bit different. And so, as always, we're going to level set and make sure that all of us are starting off from the same perspective and talk about what is the definition of religion. So I spent some time this morning doing some reading, doing some research, and I have a couple of definitions here. And so, one, the dictionary defines the belief in and worship of a superhuman power or powers, especially a god or gods. Um, and so a couple, they always kind of like elaborate, particularly a system of faith and worship, right? It could also be a pursuit or an interest to which someone ascribes supreme importance. So sometimes people can say like, oh my God, basketball is like a religion to them, right? Because it's this very intense belief. And I mean, if you looked up, I'm just going to look up like even some of the synonyms and things that were popping up were pretty interesting to me because we had synonyms of like faith, belief, cult even popped up there, right? And so I kind of took a step back and paused and because I hadn't looked up the formal definition when my niece had asked me about it. That wasn't like, I don't know, let me go find out what the formal definition is. But for you guys, I do. Um, so I thought it was very interesting, right? Because we're talking about faith. They've incorporated the word worship in there, right? And so this was like, I don't really have like there's no like ultimate worship, so to speak, for me. So I was like, okay, let's see what else we can find. So I stumbled across how the Bible defines religion, and this sentiment was shared uh, and explained that it's not just the Bible, but even how the U.S. recognizes religion here. And it is interpreted as a system that determines one's worldview, right? So how we look at and see the world. And I went, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I kind of like that perspective of religion. Maybe not so much the worship and all that kind of stuff, but I like this system that determines one's worldview. Which got me back to thinking about what I shared with my niece, and I told her first off, I said it really depends on who's asking, right? Because the individual who's asking and why they may be asking or what their context is, that they may already understand, depending upon kind of my response, I'm going to change that, right? I am, I'm absolutely going to change that. So it always depends on who's asking. But at the end of the day, I said to her, I said, if I really had to pick something, right? If somebody was really curious, I said the easiest way for me to describe it would be paganism, right? And so I looked up, and said, okay, how do I share and level set? If somebody was to go look up paganism, and it is these are multiple. It could be any kind of like nature-based, polytheistic. You're very much so more aligned to nature, nature cycles, things of that nature. And we're talking about like if you were to go back to for some odd reason, the age of antiquity is coming into my mind. Like this is the level that religion would have been, very much so, very much more earth-based or nature-based or um, very much so nature, celestial, like ruling by the sun and the moons and things of that nature. So if I had to say, I would probably describe myself as pagan, right? If somebody really wanted to understand. But my perspective is I believe that religion is a particular system of faith, and there is some worship in there. Okay. I believe my own faith is the universal laws, right? So if we go and we explore the universal laws, as above, so below, as within, so without, pull all of them. We're not going to talk about, but you can look them up. You can look up what the universal laws are. That's my faith. I have faith in the universal laws. I have faith that those universal laws are true. And that's my belief. That's my personal belief. Okay. Now, as far as the worship goes, this is the interesting thing because I don't really worship a god or a deity or goddesses or anything of that nature. I definitely work with them. I admire them. I appreciate them, respect them. I, give offerings for exchange, of working with them. But as far as worship goes, I thought about that. I don't worship them, but there is something I worship, right? There is. And that's life all around me, right? From the kitty cats that, pitter patter through my house to, my partner, to my niece, to, my dear sweet Anisha that's moving in with me, to the plants outside and the food that I'm able to serve and, just the existence of living. I worship that. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. I am just so in awe of life. I worship the fact that I have another chance to, an opportunity to live another day. So, I mean, I have some religion. I don't know that there's a word for it or a name for it or a term, so to speak. But I certainly have some religion, and paganism is probably the closest thing that I could say or use as a descriptor, because I do work with, nature. I work with the cosmic, the universal laws. I do work with many different deities. I think just my worship, my view of worship as far as one deity or another, or like Norse or Egyptian or Roman or Pantheon or anything of that nature. Like I flip, I switch, yeah, so it's who am I meant to connect with and work with. But it's not in a worship, the worship comes into worshiping life, the breath that we have, that we get to take, the heartbeat that we get to feel. Now, the question begs, why might I be sharing all of this with you here today? And the very first thing I'll say, when I thought about this and why it's important to kind of maybe discuss this or share this, number one, you may be exploring your own religious practices. I find that many individuals, I mean, Christianity is the number one most popular religion that's out there. Right. If you were to go look at the top religions, it's the top, and I think it's followed by, Muslim and, a couple of other Jewish religion. There's a handful of them that are there. You may be exploring some other religious practices. You may be thinking or considering, like, should I do something else? Should I, you may even, a lot of times I have people that will talk to me because they want to embrace witchcraft. They want to step into their witchy ways, and they're Christian and they're like, I don't know, it just feels so blasphemous, right? And if you go and read the Bible, there are definitely things that will say yes, right? But I don't think that Christianity, my personal opinion on Christianity is once again, like every religion, it's a personal thing. It's you and your relationship. Uh, and a book does not have all the answers. So if you are considering it, and contemplating looking, just know and understand that once again, you get to choose your religion. It's not something that's prescribed to you. If you are following a certain set of beliefs and structures that were set up by a religious, practice by somebody else, you could choose to follow those or choose to adopt and change whatever it is that you need. Once again, these are personal things, right? And so if you want to embrace witchcraft, if you want to embrace more of your psychic abilities, more of your own, magical ritual, more of your own healing capabilities, and step into the role of a witch, it doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't. You can be any of the religions that exist out there and embrace your psychic abilities, embrace magical ritual, and embrace your healing abilities. Okay? So that means you might also be getting that question to yourself. That's the second reason, and if you do embrace, I'd encourage you, feel free to use the same kind of criteria that I shared. Let it change depending upon who you're talking to. Some individuals may not understand or may not be able to be at the point of being able to comprehend what you mean by paganism, right? They may automatically think that you're some kind of heathen, which there's nothing wrong with being a heathen, but right? They may just go down this path of like, oh, you're, worshiping the devil or, something of that nature. So you get to choose how you want to relay that information, right? But you may be getting that question and choose. You could say, well, I'm a witch. I practice witchcraft. I'm a pagan. I'm a Christian. Whatever you want, you get to choose. And I'll say that I did take a little bit of a cause for pause when my niece asked me this. Right? Because it'd been a while since someone had asked me how I would describe my religion. Right? And so don't think that you have to rush off and have any decision. Don't think that you have to have some way that you're prescribed. Don't think that you have to have an answer. Right? You could just say, I don't know. That's a good question. Let me think about that. So that's what I did with her. I spent a little bit of time contemplating and thinking about it. Right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, our religion, our religious beliefs, our religious practices, once again, they are a very personal act. They're something that happens between you and whoever it is that you consider a divine being, right? Or divine essence. You are the only one that gets to choose what religion you are or whether or not that even matters to you. All right, my dear friends, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's a little bit shorter and we are wrapping up the year, but we'll be back again, regular scheduled program here next week. And we'll see what's coming about. Like I said, my brain's still a bit in that holiday cheer and, getting over a little something from yesterday. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. As always, we'll be back again. Much love from me to all of you, my dear friends. Have a very blessed new year.